So, should we bring in the closer?
I
And
think it'd be a good time for that.
all right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 55 of the Free Baseball Podcast. As always, I'm Davis Bird, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Jake Crumpler. And baseball's back, baby. Baseball is here. We have a lot to talk about from a wild opening day weekend and just enjoying, I almost said like a weird word, like frothing, absolutely frothing with love for baseball.
Where are you frothing from?
Don't worry about it. But we're talking baseball, of course, on Free Baseball Podcast presented by the Athletes Hub. And we got a little bit to talk about before we go ahead and get into our little hot week segment we do during the start of every season or every single episode during the regular season. And it's a little bit of a bridge from the offseason. And we got a couple of extensions to talk about. The first one being the Braves extending Orlando Arcia, who is their current starting shortstop, much to the chagrin of me, the owner of Vaughn Grissom in Fantasy Baseball League. But Orlando Arcia was extended for 3 years, and that contract is going to be worth $7.3 million. It does have an option in 2026, club option. It's worth $2 million, and it has a $1 million buyout in there. It's going to buy out 2 years of Arcia's free agency for the Braves, who are just the kings of extending literally everybody in their entire organization.
Yeah, I don't think this is one that they really had to do, especially for a starting shortstop. You want a guy who's
shut up,
who's keeping that stuff inside him. But yeah, weird extension. I feel like at this point they're just like, well, we might as well, right? If we can do it, we might as well.
I feel like they have like a list on like a notepad, and it's like all the players that are on their 40-man. It's like plans to extend every single one of them. Just going down the list.
Yeah, just checking them off.
Yeah, and they just were like him. He hasn't been extended yet.
He's pretty underwhelming. He had a lot of potential. I remember coming up through the minors, which was cool because let's see. He was like stealing a lot of bases, and he didn't strike out too much, but he also was like a really good fielder. But that hasn't really. He's been a great fielder during his time in the majors, but he hasn't really been a good hitter at all or a big base stealer. I think his best season was 2017. He went 15-14 home runs, stolen bases, and batted .277, but that was still an 86 WRC plus, and he was a 2-WAR player thanks to his glove. But other than that, he's sort of like a role player where he just can fill in outfield, infield, play some solid defense. He swings really hard, which is cool. I think he's got a pretty like aesthetic looking swing, and when he does make contact, it's pretty sick. But he seems sort of just like a placeholder. I don't know why they would extend him when you have Vaughn Grissom and you have like Braden Shoemake and other guys in the minors that you're hoping are going to take over this role in the future. Why would you extend a veteran that has never really shown too much promise? I don't know what the goal is there. You think they're gonna let Vaughn Grissom play shortstop? Because it seems like they're just doing this because they don't trust Vaughn Grissom to play shortstop.
I think at some point they're going to have to call him up, honestly, just because the bat is so good that they're just not going to be able to ignore it. So I don't know if it's going to be at shortstop, but they're going to call up Vaughn Grissom at some point. He'll play somewhere. He is pretty miserable fielding at shortstop. Like, let's be honest, he kind of had a rough spring training in the field. Wasn't the best last year either, but he's a good hitter. And this is really a cheap deal. They didn't need to extend him, but it also probably doesn't really affect them much at all. It's not really a major extension. It's not costing them. It's not hurting their pocketbook too much, really. So it's just a weird one because it's like these are guys like, why would you extend them? Maybe it's a depth play, but like you said, they also have Braden Shoemake, so that makes it even weirder. I don't really know. But moving on to a more substantial extension, and this time it's going to be back to the San Diego Padres, other kings of extending literally everybody. And they've extended Jake Cronenworth, super utility guy. I know me and Jake both really like Cronenworth, but they extended him for 7 years, $80 million, and it's going to buy out 4 years of his free agency. And it's the biggest deal ever for a player of his age. He was, of course, 29, late bloomer, who has less than 4 years of service. So pretty big deal for Cronenworth, who's going to be around for a long time. And he's just like, he's kind of like we talked a couple podcasts ago about McNeil, and he's a McNeil type where he's just kind of like a very high caliber glue player. I think Cronenworth is probably a little bit of a better player all around, but still, like he's a really good player for a Padres team, and this is also not a really huge major extension in terms of like money for Padres, seeing how much money they've outlaid on everybody else. This is like kind of feels like a drop in the bucket, really.
Yeah, they've got a really solid core now with like Machado and Bogarts and Tatis and Darvish, and now Cronenworth will be around for a long time into his mid-30s. Pretty cool. I remember when he was traded over there from the Rays, but back-to-back 4 F4 seasons the past 2 years, even though his bat was not as strong as it was last year. He's like very valuable because he can play all over the infield and is a very solid hitter. Definitely a fun player to watch as well. He's not like super enthusiastic is not the right word. He's not like Fernando Tatis Jr. is what I'll say, but he does make an impact with his bat. So that's cool to keep him around. I couldn't really imagine him in another uniform at this moment, at least. But yeah, that's awesome. Great way to start off the year by just doing another extension. But yeah, you're right. These are the two teams that just extend everybody. It's like they're battling each other, see who can extend more people. I've got one of the guys in our fantasy league is absolutely blowing up the fantasy chat right now about Kyle Finnegan's 5 earned run blown save.
Nice.
And it's really funny. It's here, I can read it and I'll do some beeps. Effing Kyle Finnegan. Get this beep Kyle Finnegan out of the league. Disgraceful. Seriously pathetic. Don't call yourself a pitcher, Kyle. Just a beep sucker that stands on a small bump and throws BP. Manager a beep too.
Wow.
Strong feelings.
He mad. So another note on Cronenworth before we move on. Since his debut in 2020, his 9.8 WAR ranked 30th in all of baseball, which is right in between Rafael Devers and catcher Will Smith. So yeah, I mean, he's been obviously really good because both of those guys are really good. Yeah, this is a huge one for the Padres, considering all the money that they've outlaid for everybody else and that they'll still probably spend big to keep Soto. You'd have to imagine. I think at least they're going to offer him something. Getting Cronenworth on sort of, it's $80 million. It sounds weird. It always sounds weird talking like in these sums of money, but it feels like a cut rate deal for Cronenworth, who probably could have fetched a little bit more when he actually hits free agency, just on a per year rate, but still really good deal for Cronenworth. And not so hot for Kyle Finnegan, who has drawn the ire of Jake's fantasy baseball league.
Hunter Harvey season.
Hunter Harvey season. He dropped him too. Someone claimed him. But on to the hot weeks. We do this every single week for every time we have the podcast, obviously, because we do it by week. But it's going back and looking at some hot weeks and some really strong performers. And this is from opening day weekend. And it's going to start with current Pirate and potentially not future Pirate, Brian Reynolds, not Byron Reynolds. That's a different guy. Brian Reynolds, who had 21 plate appearances over the week. He hit 400, had a 429 on base, and then he slugged 1.050, 5 runs, 4 dingers, which is for the league lead right now.
Yeah, that's why I put him in there, and he just got it today. So he wasn't on like the Fangraphs leaderboard for WAR, but after his 4th home run today, I was like, this has got to be the guy. And surprising enough, he actually has improved that line with another base hit. He's now batting 429.
Wow. So there you go, 4 dingers, and then 5 RBI for Brian Reynolds, who has had a really good start. And after the pretty paltry extension offer that the Pirates gave him, I think they're going to need to reach a little bit deeper to try to get him, or they're just not going to keep him for much longer.
Yeah. Why couldn't he do this last year? He was on my fantasy team and he was awful.
Because that's how it goes, Jake. That's just how it goes.
That's
true. You ever watch Trailer Park Boys?
Not. No.
Where it's like literally anytime anything bad happens, away she goes, bud. It's just how it happens.
It'd be like that sometimes.
It do be like that sometimes. And the other one is Jeffrey Springs, obviously, who had a really, really strong start against Detroit. I'm not sure what day that was, but against Detroit, he had 7 innings pitched, no hits, no earned, 1 walk, and then 12 Ks. He also generated 13 whiffs, which is good for a 41% called strikes plus whiffs percentage which is definitely elite. Really, really good for Jeffrey Springs. really strong start.
Yeah, garbage human, not a garbage pitcher though.
That's true.
Really, really incredible start. I mean, the Rays are known for pulling guys with no hitters, but I think this is always smart, especially this early in the season. I don't know if you remember last year, Kershaw was throwing a perfect game and he got pulled. I still think that one's goofy. Perfect game is different. And
Yep.
I thought I lost Wi-Fi for a sec. I might be about to, but yeah, it's still a great start from Springs. His changeup was really working. He had 9 whiffs with the changeup alone. So that was a pretty great start from him. And then, yeah.
Pretty strong start from Jeffrey Springs
Am I
and
gone?
no, I don't think so. And a strong start from the Tampa Bay Rays, who've been one of the best teams, if not the best team in baseball. I know a lot of power rankings have had them as number 1. So good start for the Tampa Bay Rays and Jeffrey Springs. Hopefully they can keep it up. And while we wait for Jake to return, we're going to go on to the opening week of baseball and just a couple little storylines. And it's a pretty easy first one to talk about, and it's the first home run of the season. And who else to hit it against Jake, who will return shortly. Jake, San Francisco Giants, Aaron Judge, not Arson Judge, hit the first home run of the 2023 season off of Logan Webb, which is Jake didn't like that very much, but a bunch of our Yankees guys, the athletes, I'm sure they love that. Aaron Judge has also had a pretty strong start as he looks to build off of his historic season from last year.
I sort of liked it because he's on my fantasy team. So that was pretty sick.
Yeah.
He was my first pick. But yeah, I just thought it was a good thing to point out. I think it's, first of all, stark contrast to last year's first home run of 2023, which came from Nico Horner, who, when he hit that, I said, I put out a tweet saying Nico Horner has more home runs today than he has in the last 2 seasons combined, because he hit 0 home runs across the 2020 and 2021 campaigns. So very stark contrast there. But then also, I just thought it was so fitting that, last year's the definition of home run, Aaron Judge comes and hits the first home run of 2023. It just was pretty poetic. Before we move on to more opening week, do you think Reynolds gets traded this year, or do you think he actually does get extended?
I think he'll get traded. I think if the money he wants is fitting of what the player he is, but the money he wants is what Bob Nutting is never going to give a player. So probably not. If history has anything to base on, like, Brian Reynolds will be traded because the Pirates never extend anybody and they never spend any real money on anybody. So no, I don't. I think it would probably be a relatively decent bit before the trade deadline too. Probably to someone stupid like the Dodgers.
I could see the Mets pulling off a Bednar and Brian Reynolds trade, but they don't have too many prospects, and I know the Pirates always have a really high asking price.
I hope Bednar stays with the Pirates real bad.
Yeah, we'll see. He won't be around for too much longer. I mean, he's got 4 more years of control, but he's 28 and a half.
Yeah, but he's like, I feel like he'd be one that would accept kind of like a cheap extension because it's just like, it's Pittsburgh and he's a Yinzer. So
is he born in?
Yeah, both the Bednar. That's why I keep calling him King Yinzer. He's a Yinzer.
Supreme. Yeah. Well, the other Bednar is on the Giants, so that's cool.
Yeah, David Bednar is from, I'm gonna Google it. Yeah, he's from Pittsburgh. He was born in Pittsburgh.
Sick. Yeah. So I guess that's one guy who would want to stay, but I feel like the Pirates might want to capitalize on him before his arm falls off. But so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, good point there. And then the other storyline is not as positive as first home run of the season, but it's Anthony Rendon being suspended for an initial 5 games, which has been reduced to 4 games for an altercation with a fan. And that was a whole thing that we were talking about before the podcast. And I'm interested to hear your take on it before I say mine, because I'm not sure if they're going to be that much different.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I saw it and I immediately was just like, I don't know. I didn't see Rendon in any more of a negative light than I ever saw him in. It's rough being a public figure like that, let alone somebody who's like makes their job playing a game in front of people, and to have been struggling with injuries for as long as he had. I'm sure he's been hearing stuff all over the place, whether that be on the field or on the internet or in public. Like, I'm sure he's sick of that. And yeah, I mean, they're just people too. You can't be calling people names and not expect like somebody to like confront you. But you know, the only thing I have to say is that guy should have taken the hit from Rendon. He would have been paid for the rest of his life. I would have definitely gotten smacked in the face by Rendon for a good 200K, 250, maybe a mil.
Yeah, I mean, Rendon's got that money probably laying around just in his house. He could probably just go get it to you. But basically, what happened is some fan, when after the Angels lost to the Athletics, was talking a bunch of smack to Rendon, and Rendon did not take very kindly to it. He actually, the one thing that makes it kind of look bad for Rendon is he motioned him over, because it wasn't like directly reaching over the dugout, because they were walking past into the tunnel. And he motioned the guy over to him. And then when the guy came over to him, that he reached up and grabbed him and started giving him like what for and everything. But yet, if you're a fan and you're that close to an athlete like that, stop talking like a bunch of garbage to them like they won't do anything. Because the more and more, like, there's been consequences. And I honestly think if you're a fan and you're that stupid, then you kind of deserve to get smacked by Anthony Rendon. So yeah, I think Rendon probably didn't handle it as good as he should have.
No,
but
I don't know why nobody stopped him. Did you see the freeze frame of Shohei walking past?
Yeah, I saw that. And Shohei was just like, oh.
He was just like, oh no. Uh-oh.
Oh no. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, the fan's an idiot and Rendon's probably an idiot, but I think the fan's the bigger idiot in this situation. But moving on, we'll talk about one of the most exciting games / series of the opening day weekend, and it's the Red Sox and Orioles. And we had Martin on a few shows ago. Martin's a Red Sox fan, and he was having like a full-on live chat in our like group chat of like a mental breakdown over it, and it was just like it was something else. So I'll let you break down the Red Sox and Orioles.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. The Orioles had like a 6-run lead. I think it was 6 or 7. It was like 7-1 or something at one point. And the Red Sox made it a game, made it a save situation. It was a 1-run game going into the 9th inning. So Felix Bautista, the Orioles closer, was called on for the save. He got the first 2 outs pretty handily. And then Masataka Yoshida, Japanese GOAT, came to the plate. And Bautista basically ended the fly ball to left fielder Ryan McKenna, who's not known for his bat and is definitely more of a glove first guy, tried to catch a ball to his side and dropped it. It was one of those like really easy fly balls. I don't know what's going on, but I've seen so many dropped fly balls this year already. I don't know if the ball's more slippery or if people are just really not trying in the outfield, but I've seen like at least 5 drop fly balls this year, which is pretty crazy how often I've seen that. But that gave the Red Sox some life. Masataka Yoshida made it to first base, giving Adam Duvall another chance. And the background on Duvall's game is that he got the hardest 3 legs of the cycle out of the way before that. He had a triple, a home run, and a double. And he probably did not think he was going to have another chance to hit when Yoshida was flying out to left field, but he did get another chance. So he came up just needing a single to hit for the cycle. And he said, screw this arbitrary feat. I'm going to win this game. And the guy snuck a ball right over the green monster to get the win. And it was crazy because it's what you always think about. Like, oh my gosh, like what if this guy drops this fly ball right here and then gives them another chance and then they hit a walk-off home run. And that's exactly what happened. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, that was a crazy series. They had a separate game in the series too, where like Rutschman went like, didn't he go like 4 for 4 or 4 for 5?
He went 5 for 5 on opening day, and he was like the first catcher ever to do that.
Well, he was like 5 for 5, and then he also had like a walk or something crazy in there too. Like
times, yeah,
like he's insane, man. This was a really fun series of 2 teams that will most likely end up being bad, but. Yes, it's a really fun game for opening day weekend there for Baltimore and Boston. And
it was like Duvall though. He's been going off outside of that.
Like he always has like stretches where he genuinely is one of the best hitters in like all of baseball, and he just gets like insanely hot, and he'll hit a million.
So you think this is just a streak? It's gonna end?
Yeah, probably. I
agree.
It's just Duvall. He'll probably have another stupid season. What was the year? What did he hit? Like 38. In like 20, 2019 or 2020.
with the
Yeah.
Reds.
It was like partially with the Reds and then partially with the Braves.
Yeah, you're right. 38 home runs in
Yeah.
2021 with Miami and Atlanta.
Yeah, it was that one. Like
He's hit 30 home runs 3 different times.
I was gonna say he had the one where he almost hit 40 was the 38 home run season, and that was wild.
Dang.
2021, they won the World Series in 21, right? That was the Braves World Series.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
I wonder if he could.
I don't know.
wonder if he could do that again. I mean, it's crazy that he's 34 and he's still going off.
that I don't know. I mean, like Yankee Stadium and in the Green Monster, it's sort of a hitter friendly division.
Mhm.
I could see it, but he's really streaky. Like he's really streaky when he does hit. Like he'll kind of go on like a couple week tear where he's genuinely like one of the best power hitters in all of baseball, and then he'll go back to just kind of being like very average.
Yeah, because he
And then he'll
strikes
do it all over
so
again.
much.
Yeah,
It makes him a streaky guy.
yeah. So I don't know, but he'll probably still end up putting a crazy season together.
He's got 30 home runs in the bag.
Oh yeah, certainly. Someone who may or may not have 30 home runs in the bag is Trace Thompson, who's already got 3 of them out of the way because he had a 3 home run game. Who did he have the 3 home run game against? Wasn't the Rockies?
Diamondbacks? No, Diamondbacks. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that sounds right. Trace Thompson hit 3 home runs against the Diamondbacks. What do you have, like 8 RBI in that game or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God almighty.
He went off. The craziest part about that game, though, all 3 home runs had an identical exit velocity, 107.5 miles per hour. I thought that had to be
That's
like
crazy.
a bug in Baseball Savant, but that is the first time anybody's ever done that, obviously. But it's pretty weird that all 3 of them 107.5. Very, very weird. Could only happen in the 2020s that you would be able to say something like that because of StatCast, but still so weird and pretty cool because this is a guy that I didn't really call in the off season, but I did put out a stat where he was like the standout guy, and I didn't really think much of it. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to draft this guy in all my fantasy baseball leagues. I actually drafted him in none of them because I thought he was going to be more of a platoon guy, and I think that will still be the case, but I mean, he is Klay Thompson's brother. He's got the star power, you know.
That third one he hit was a bomb. It was 442, but he has like
the first one was a grand slam.
Well, he was a reverse split guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's better versus righties, so I don't know why.
But he hit the last one off of a lefty. Like he had a bomb off of a lefty. I don't know.
He got power.
Yeah, he's really tapped into it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Hopefully he can. I was gonna say hopefully he can continue being really good, but I know you don't want that to happen. So
no.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, put him on the Warriors.
That's true. He can go join his brother. He's the current. No, that's not right. I was looking at Adam Duvall stats again. I was like, oh yeah, he's going off. He's the RBI leader, but he is currently on 8, which is just 1 behind the lead in all of baseball.
And he did it all in one game.
Yeah,
he did half of them in one swing.
That's wild. Jake, who do you believe to be the home run leader for the NL currently?
Well, it's not updated. Brian Reynolds.
Oh, excuse me. Who do you think's the AL home run leader?
AL home run leader. They have 4?
Not as far as I know.
Oh, they have 3?
Yep.
Ooh. I don't know.
I talked about him a little bit last podcast. Jake, it's Joey Gallo.
That is true. It is Joey Gallo.
Joey Gallo, AL home run leader.
Resurgence, playing first base.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sick. How are you liking those new Twins uniforms now that we've seen them in action?
They're so mid.
Yeah, the hat just looks like a Marlins hat.
The hat's awful, and they're so mid.
Yeah. It's not great.
Could be better. I was wrong. I liked them when they came out because they're like, oh yeah, they're pretty subdued. They're not too over the top.
Yeah. They made up for it though because they brought back the Florida Marlin jerseys.
That's true, but that's not the Twins. Like, and the Twins blew it. But we talked.
Yeah. What am I talking about?
We talked.
The M on the hat looks so much like the Marlins. I thought they were the Marlins.
But we've been talking home runs. Trace Thompson, Joey Gallo, Adam Duvall. Let's talk about Jake's team, the Giants. They hit 7 home runs for the first time since 2002. In their, was it last game?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday? We'll talk about it, Jake.
Yeah, I'll name off the players. We had Jock Peterson, Michael Conforto, Tyro Estrada, Mike Yastrzemski, Bryce Johnson, and then David VR hit 2, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, Giants not known for hitting home runs. They were not at home, so makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, pretty crazy that we haven't seen that since Barry Bonds' heyday, 2002. And yeah, I have a feeling it's like the juice ball's back. I've been seeing way more home runs, especially compared to this time last year. There's been a lot more home runs. The offense is definitely up. So definitely prepare yourself for the summer. But would love the Giants to show some pop, especially with the way their lineup is currently constructed. It's not really too scary, but maybe we'll have a couple more breakouts. Who do you think their number 3 hitter is?
Their number 3 hitter? Ooh. I watched their opening day game. I should know that. It's not Conforto.
No.
It's not Conforto. Was it Crawford?
It's Tyro Estrada.
Well, it was Tyro Estrada because now he's hurt.
Oh, great.
Speaking of that game, they actually hit 4 of their 7 home runs in 1 inning. And it was Conforto, Tyro Estrada, Mike Yastrzemski, and David VR?
Yeah.
I wanted to say Jonathan VR, but that's not the right guy. With David VR, that's their first 4-homer inning since 2011. So their first 7 home run games since 2002, first 4-homer inning since 2011. For a team that just so here's my question for you, Jake. Because they haven't had a 30 home run hitter since Barry Bonds. Do you think that they're going to have one this year?
No, who would it be?
Conforto or Jock?
No, Jock has got a chance, but he's just going to get platooned. And then when Haniger's back, I don't know how often he's going to play. Conforto, I don't think Conforto has hit 30 home runs once. Can you guess what year it was?
Juice Ball year 2019.
Yes, sir. So yeah, no, I don't think Conforto even has 30 home run power, let alone hitting over the brick wall in San Francisco at the age of 30. After having missed 2 seasons.
I think they'll do it.
1 season.
I think they'll do it. I think it'll be Jock.
That would be sick. I'm not feeling it though.
Well, someone who was feeling it was Ha-Seong Kim, who, as we just said, hit a walk-off home run off of the aforementioned. Wasn't it off of Kyle Finnegan?
It was Scott McGough.
Scott McGough. We talked about that before the game. So Ha-Seong Kim hit a walk-off home run off of Scott McGough of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tell the fantasy story because you talked about that before the podcast. I think that was a funny little story.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing because Scott McGough, known Japanese superstar closer past couple of years. Well, he is not Japanese, but he was playing in MPB the last couple of years. So he's coming over, and the Diamondbacks bullpen is sort of in flux. They got lots of options, but McGough seems to be the top one, having had the most experience closing. So there was a day where a guy in our fantasy league picked him up, and I was sort of pissed. And then he dropped him the next day because Andrew Chafin instead got a save, even though it was clear that he was going to, because some lefties were coming up in the 9th. Nonetheless, fast forward one day, I pick up Scott McGough. I get a save from him, and I'm like, let's go. And then last night he comes in, and I'm like, damn, the guy that dropped him is an idiot because Scott McGough is clearly the closer, and here he goes, about to get a save. And he goes to face the Padres, bottom of the order, close it out for the 9th. David Dahl up first, and he leaves a splitter up in the zone that Dahl crushes to left field to tie the game. And I was starting to regret calling my friend an idiot behind his back. And then next batter, Ha-Seong Kim comes up, gets a fastball right down the middle and blasts it to left for the walk-off. It's really fun in San Diego. Every time Ha-Seong Kim comes up, they chant his name, Ha-Seong Kim, Ha-Seong Kim. And I was joining in too because I like it, even though Scott McGough was on my fantasy team. But yeah, pretty disappointing. Just watching that, just like I couldn't believe it. And then to have, a couple other closers on my team, Trevor May, Emmanuel Clase, blow up in the same game as well. It was a rough night for my fantasy team, but we'll come back. I didn't drop McGough. I still have faith that he's going to be the closer throughout the year. But yeah, that was a rough game.
I'm gonna go pick up Gallo and ride the hides, even though you get super punished for the Ks. Did you see? I know we're talking about, but did you see the clip of him hitting a foul ball, literally pulling it over the roof at
I did not.
at the Marlins Stadium?
You'll have to send that to me.
He yacked one over the roof.
That's crazy.
They had a clip of Laz Diaz at like first base, literally looking up at it like, "Oh my god."
He doesn't know what's going on.
Joey Gallo doesn't know what's going on either. But what was going on, and we talked about it, and we'll talk about the time also. But pretty anomalous game from Sandy. We both love Sandy. He had a complete game shutout, but even more interesting is he did it in sub 2 hours. He had a Burley game, 1 hour and 57 minutes, complete game shutout. Yeah, and that's just wild that even happens. But the pitch clock really making a big difference so far. Sandy already was a fast worker anyway, but the pitch clock just kind of adds into that. And sub 2 hour game. I don't know. I'm sure there's a stat for that, but I don't know when the last sub 2 hour game was.
In spring training.
Well, like in the actual big leagues.
Like yeah, I think there was training. Is that what Bailey's Foolish Bailey's video was about? The Burley one?
I'm sure it's on the Burley one, but I'm not sure. But
no, but did he say that there was ever a sub 2 hour? Because I know he was talking about
Burley's
Shane
gone.
McClanahan.
Burley's gone sub 2 hours several times, and then I think oh my god, what is his name? I can't think of it. The dude he pitched for the Reds forever. I can't think of it. It'll come to me later. But there was a dude that pitched for the Reds several times, or for a long time. Bronson Arroyo had several games that were sub 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't remember if the game that he was talking about, like most recently, that he was like, oh, this game with like Miles Mikolas and Shane McClanahan got close to it, or if they got there. But this is a possibility that this is the first sub 2 hour game in a long time. I think it definitely is one of the few that we've seen in the past decade or so, but definitely cool to see some games being that short. I know a lot of people like baseball to be long, but you're playing 162 games times 15, right? I mean, it's you'd think it's times 30, but every single game has 2 teams in it. But that's so many games a season, like almost 2,000 games a season. It's a lot to watch. And for people that want to watch it all, this makes it a lot easier to watch. It also makes it easier for casual fans to sit through a whole game. But love seeing Sandy go off. He had 15 whiffs in this one, 27% CSW. Not his most dominant performance, but he's looking like old Sandy again. We also got to see the season debut of Kenta Maeda returning from Tommy John surgery, and he was going off.
Yeah, he had to get helped off by a trainer, though.
No.
Yeah, Nick Pollock was your boss. Nick Pollock was tweeting about it. And he was like, "I'm thinking Kenta Maeda's back," and then he literally quoted it like an hour later. And it's like he's being helped off by a trainer. Why did I tweet?
No, he went 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, no walk, 9 Ks in that one. The 1 earned run came off a home run, which was off the bat of Avisail Garcia. But yeah, it looks like Maeda's back. Let's hope he's fine and that he can return next week when his next start is due up. But yeah, it's been awesome seeing just baseball be back and have a lot of big fun moments so far. I think there's definitely been some moments that we forgot to talk about, but it's hard to keep track with so much going on. So if there is something that we missed and there are people actually listening to our podcast, give us a tweet, say, you idiots, you forgot about this, and maybe we'll talk about it next time, or maybe we'll try to keep notes throughout the week on the big things that happen. I try to like retweet things to remember to talk about them, but recently I just been retweeting rookies' first hits, which is not too helpful.
Yeah, but Sandy was really dealing and working fast. Like his pitches by inning, he had 9 in the first, 12 in the second. His longest one was the third. It was only 18 pitches. 8 in the fourth. He got out of the fifth in 4 pitches. 14 in the sixth, 16 in the seventh, 12 in the eighth, and then only 7 in the ninth. And he shut out the Twins, and the Twins are a good lineup. So like Sandy, do you think he's going to be another front runner for the NL Cy Young this year?
Yeah, I love Sandy.
Yeah, I do too. I think there's a pretty good chance that he's going to end up being right there again. But that's enough of our little storylines for opening week. And we're going to talk about now the big impact of the new rules changes. So, do you want to roll off the stats really quick? You sent me the tweet, and I thought it was really interesting.
Sure. Yeah. This is from Jeff Passan. Everybody knows who that is, but his Twitter @ is Jeff Passan, one word. He put out a tweet, which doesn't count yesterday or today's game. So this is through the first 4 days of the MLB season. I'm sure there's an update out there, but I would have had to have done the math myself. So this makes it a lot easier. And I think this is pretty representative of what we've seen the next couple of days as well. But through the first around 50 games of 2023 and 49 games of 2022, we've seen some big changes. We'll start it off with time of game, which we just talked about with the Sandy game. Games are 30 minutes shorter on average, down to 2 hours and 38 minutes from 3 hours and 9 minutes last year. That's huge. I think we've seen so many changes to the time of game, like trying to implement rules to affect the time of game, and none of them has had the same impact as the pitch clock. And he also noted the batting lines have changed so far. I think that's partially due to the juiced ball, but also can partially be due to pitchers not being as rested in between pitches because of the pitch clock and other outside reasons. But batters in 2022 batted 230, 308, 374. And in 2023, they've batted 245, 323, 392. In terms of stolen bases, which I think is a really exciting one, not only are players stealing more, attempting to steal more bags, but they're also having more success. This year, they're 70 for 84 through the first 4 days of the Major League Baseball season, which is good for an 83.3% success rate. And last year, we saw just 43 steals, nearly half as many, with 43 attempts and 29 successes at a 67.4% rate. And if you're worried about the pitch clock really taken away from the games, we've seen less than one pitch clock violation per game at 40. And I think that'll only continue to decrease as we get on through the season. I expect it to sort of sit around 1 every 2 games, so like 0.5 per game. But yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this? Are you liking the new version of baseball? Do you think that these changes are good? The shortened game, the better batting line, more steals? I think more steals. I think that's like the best one, to be honest.
Yeah, more steals is really exciting. More balls in play. Like that was the whole impetus of like the changes were more balls in play. And at least just from watching the games that I've seen, that's definitely a theme. Like you can definitely see more balls being in play. It's not just walk up, strike out. And so far I like the pitch clock. It's a lot more refreshing to constantly see like, okay, like they'll take a pitch and, it's not an at bat that's going to take 4 or 5 minutes for an at bat, just because it's like, okay, they'll throw one pitch, batter will step out for 30 seconds, adjust literally everything on their entire body, spin their bat around their head like it's a sign for T-Mobile or whatever. Like I'm not a big fan of that. I like watching, and it's like, oh, you don't like baseball. Like, no, I love baseball.
I want to watch baseball.
I want to watch baseball. I don't want the commentators to constantly have to fill time because at bats take forever with stupid anecdotes about nothing. I want to watch baseball.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've gotten more baseball. So I'm thrilled. I love it. And I think the biggest thing for me now is the question of like, do they enforce these rules for playoffs? Because I know there was still some talk about like eliminating the pitch clock for the playoffs. And I honestly think if they're going to stick with the pitch clock, they need to stick with the pitch clock. And it feels like, 40 violations now, you said 1 every other game. It's a little bit more than 1 every other game. I honestly think that'll still drop to the point where it'll become like a very rare event. It will be like, a pitch clock violation, and people will stop getting up in arms about it. They don't have, I know in spring training, everyone's complaining because a bunch of the places had the clock directly behind like the batter where you could see it. A lot of the time, or they never had that. And a lot of the time it never even got to the point where they had to show the pitch clock. Like, at least for games I saw.
I don't know what scorebug you're having, and I see it the whole time on Bally.
I watched most of the ones for Marquee, and Marquee doesn't pop it up until it's like almost over. So like almost to the point where it'll be a violation. That's when it'll show up. And then by that point, it's like, oh, okay. until that point, you almost forget that it's even there. So I like it. I think it's been good for baseball. The bigger bases, I think, has also helped because it is theoretically a shorter time and easier to steal. Plus, there's an important rule, and I think that like a lot of people are neglecting it. But one of the big things for steals is that the pitcher can no longer throw over to first a million times. You get
We
two
saw that
throws.
right away too.
Yeah. You
With
get
the Ronald steal.
yeah. And that's interesting too because it makes it a mind game. It's two throws. If you don't get them, the next time you have to get them or it's a balk. So the runner will almost run every single time after that you've thrown over because they know if you throw over and you don't get them, you're going to give them the base anyway. So they might as well try it. And that's good. And you're seeing more steals and you're seeing guys that used to get a lot of steals or have the capacity to get a lot of steals. Like one of the ones that I really liked, and I joked about it with Jake, is like Tony Kemp. Just like Tony Kemp is an example. Like he's a very average to below average player, but he's got potential to be like a 20 to 25 steal guy, and he's not even that fast. He's just a pretty good base runner. He's been getting like 11, like 14 steals, something like that for his career. Those are guys that will get 20 steals, and they'll get more longevity and more value out of their careers as players because of this change. And I think that's good.
Yeah,
so like
we saw more than double as many steals in the first 4 days of baseball this year than last year.
Like
more
that's
than double.
dope. That's so dope because like steals just kind of got phased out of the game in a way. It just doesn't. It's not gone, but it didn't happen nearly as much to be like a thing.
Yeah,
and I love it. So far I'm completely thrilled with the changes.
Yeah, somebody asked me if Ricky's record is in jeopardy, and I was like, no. Maybe we can get back to 80 steals. Maybe we can get back. Maybe we should try to get back to 50 first. We haven't had a 50 in a while. Let's get back to 50, and then we can start considering 130.
Yeah, go back and look at the steals records for those, and it's like, okay, people were stealing a ton of bases, and then Ricky would beat them. Like Ricky could take the last 2 months off and still beat everybody.
Yeah, he was crazy.
He's the best base stealer of all time. He'll never be caught. That's like one of the most unbreakable records in all of baseball.
Yeah. Going off what you were saying about how they said they wouldn't change it for the postseason. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about how somebody asked Morgan Sword, who's like a representative for like MLB. What would you call, where does Rob Manfred work?
I don't know. Like
yeah, okay.
Central office.
The front office of Major League Baseball itself.
The head.
But he's basically he's like the representative. So he has to go to press conferences and answer stuff. And somebody asked him like, oh, like, do you think that they'll ever like change the pitch clock to be different at certain times of the game, like either get rid of it after the 7th inning or make it like a little longer after the 7th inning? And they're just like, oh, well, we don't want to play the game with different rules at different points in the game. And then the guy who is hosting the podcast, this is Effectively Wild. He like hates the extra inning runner rule. He also hates that nobody calls it the same thing. He likes to call it the zombie runner because they're coming back to life, and being put back on the base. But everybody else calls it the ghost runner, which is already a thing. And it's when there's no runner there and you just use a fake runner. But nonetheless, that's beside the point. And he was but the Morgan Sword, basically the point is Morgan Sword said that they don't want to play the game with different rules at different points in the game. So they don't want to do different pitch clocks. Literally, extra innings is played with different rules. You put a runner on second to start the inning. I don't know what he's talking about that makes it seem like that is like a crazy idea, but we clearly are already playing with different rules throughout the game.
So that's why that rule needs to go, because that rule sucks. And I think almost everybody universally hates that rule.
The biggest part is that they don't use it in the postseason. Is that not telling enough? Is that not like, oh, we think it's such a terrible rule that when the games matter, we're not going to use it. So basically the regular season games, we don't really care. They don't matter to us.
That's the thing. It's like the same thing as a pitch clock. Is like, if you want to add validity to the pitch clock and get everyone to shut up about it, is you have to have the pitch clock all of the time. And I think the pitch clock, and the pitch clock makes 10 times more sense than like baseball games take too long and I'm tired of being here. I want to go home. I'm tired, blah, 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 cry, cry, cry. Let's put someone on second and then make literally every game in the most anticlimactic way it possibly can. It's boring as hell and it sucks. I need to get rid of the stupid ghost runner rule.
I'd rather have ties.
I really would. I would rather have ties. I genuinely would rather have ties 10 times out of 10 than have the stupid extra innings runner. I hate that rule more than anything, more than any of the new rules, because the new rules are good. I love the new rules. Extra inning runner sucks. They need to get rid of it.
Yes.
But moving on, because we're going to talk about it forever. So more fun stuff. We had a bunch of MLB debuts. You already talked about one, which was Masataka Yoshida. But a lot of guys made their debuts. You had Oscar Colas of the White Sox, Masataka Yoshida of the Boston Red Sox, Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals, who obviously collected a hit in his first at bat. I always love when stuff like that happens, even though it is a Cardinal. That sucks. Anthony Volpe made his debut for the Yankees. Was he their number 1 prospect or the number 2 prospect?
I think he was their number 1. Who did you think was above him?
Jason Dominguez.
Oh, no. Volpe's above him for sure.
Okay. Bryce Terang made his debut for the Milwaukee Brewers. Joey, is it Weimer or
It's Weimer. I pronounced it wrong on another podcast, and I realized I pronounced it wrong.
Joey Weimer made his debut. Who does he play for? I don't know that guy.
The Brewers.
That sucks. Never mind. Forget that guy. Shintaro Fujinami made his debut for the Oakland Athletics, and his mom was there. That was so dope. I loved that one.
Oh, unfortunate.
Yeah. He got a strikeout though, and everyone was like, "Oh," they cut to his mom, and it was super nice. Thad Ward made his debut for the Washington Nationals, and then Kodai Senga got to show off the Ghost Fork in his debut with the Mets. He got to show off did you see his really cool glove that's got the ghost thing on it? That's pretty dope.
Yeah, so, he knows. Yeah. He knows.
So, which one was your favorite debut?
It's got to be Masataka Yoshida. It's been awesome to see him. After watching him in the WBC, I knew he was for real. Because there were so many questions about, is the power going to transfer over? Are the strikeouts going to go up? Is he going to steal any bases? Not only has he already hit a home run and stolen a base, but he's been really good outside of that. I don't think the fielding is really going to be his strong suit. It doesn't really matter. He's playing left field underneath the Green Monster, but he looks like he belongs. He's batting 4th in the Red Sox lineup. I think it's pretty sick. What about you?
Yeah, I honestly really like Yoshida just because his swing is so good. Like he walks
Red Sox.
Yeah, I love his swing. He walks a million times. He got his first home run, and he also got his first steal, which is pretty dope. So first hit, first home run, first steal. Pretty good opening day weekend.
Did seeing any of these guys change your opinion on who you think is going to win Rookie of the Year?
No.
Really? You still don't think Yoshida's going to win?
I think it could be Yoshida.
Who did you have in the AL?
Logan O'Hoppe, man. I changed it.
Okay. He's been doing pretty well. He's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, in AAA. I changed mine last week.
In the podcast? Sure. What'd you say?
I don't even remember what I even said for the NL one because I'm gonna go pull it up. I didn't change the NL one because that was Corbin Carroll.
Mm-hmm. That's a good call.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Yoshida's definitely got a chance. Any of these other guys, though, I don't think for the NL they're going to beat Corbin Carroll. I just don't see it.
That's fair. I think a lot of them have been pretty exciting. Colas has not really done too much, but neither has Weimer.
Playing time as the other ones, though.
No, he's been sort of platooning. But we talked enough about Yoshida. I think Jordan Walker has been really cool. He's sort of like.
Really
if we hadn't seen O'Neal Cruz do what he's done, I think Jordan Walker would sort of be setting off alarm bells with how good he's been on StatCast because he fired like 100-mile-per-hour throw from the outfield. He's really fast. He hits the ball over 100 miles per hour constantly. O'Neal Cruz sort of skewed our expectations after breaking the StatCast max exit velo record and throwing the hardest ball and being like the fastest guy. I mean, that's pretty crazy. But Jordan Walker has definitely got some tools, and I think he's going to be pretty incredible as long as he can adjust when the pitchers adjust to him.
Yeah. Other than that, though, absolutely not. I'm going to stick with Logan O'Hoppe. That's my guy.
Yeah.
Did you watch last night where the man that Logan O'Hoppe was traded for booted a ball that got hit to him in the gap for a triple?
Who did he get traded for?
Brandon Marsh.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Oof. Yeah, and Volpe's looking pretty fine.
He's stolen quite a few bases, hasn't he?
He's really fast, and I think that was evident already by the fact that he was stealing like 60 bases in the minors. But I don't know if he's as strong as of a hitter as everybody thought. He's been really patient thus far. I think he's got 4 walks and to 3 strikeouts, so that's pretty solid. 4 walks and 15 plate appearances, 26% walk rate. Walk and strikeout rate, they stabilized pretty quickly. Obviously, it's still too early for that, but I think he's a guy that's going to struggle to make a lot of contact. So that's something early on, but he is really fast and he's not afraid to run. Have you seen what Bryce Terang's been doing?
Unfortunately, yes, I have. Bryce Terang has been absolutely going off for the Brewers. He's been one of the best hitters on their roster, which has honestly kind of been like not floundering, but the big names in it haven't been pulling up as much as they normally would. Like Yelich, everyone knows Yelich is like struggling now. Willy Adames was supposed to be like their big, like one of their big best hitters, and he's just gone off to a really slow start. Ask me how I know. It's because I drafted him onto my stupid fantasy baseball team. So yeah, that's the last time I ever draft a Brewer. What do you think Bryce Terang's current WRC plus is?
I didn't look. It is pulled up right next to me, but I didn't look. I'm going to say something crazy. 316.
309.
Oh, that was close.
309. He's already almost worth half a WAR.
Yeah, he's looking really good. And he's walking like I think he has 3 walks to 1 strikeout and 13 plate appearances. So he's got some a good eye. His first home run was a grand slam. That was pretty sick. He's stolen 2 bases already too. He's batting 500. Pretty awesome to see that from a guy that was not a super highly touted prospect. I don't even think he was a top 100, but I took him in like 3 of my leagues.
And he wasn't even a top. I think he was only like number 5. I think he was only the number 5 prospect in the Brewer system.
He was not even among the top 3 in the Brewers. But yeah, he seems like a guy that's going to have some power and steal a lot of bases and should be pretty solid. I'm excited to see what he can do for the Brewers, especially because they sort of just left second base open and we're just like, well, if Terang doesn't work out, we're sort of screwed, but let's see what happens.
Oh yeah.
Did you see Fujinami pitch?
No, where did he get lit up?
No, his first 2 innings were incredible. His stuff is so good. He throws 100 miles an hour. He's got a dirty splitter, and I think he's got a slider as well, but he cannot control it. It's not going where he wants it to. So first time through the order, he was like striking out Mike Trout and Shohei. He was like killing everybody. And then the 3rd inning came and he gave up 8 runs.
Oh. No.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
bad,
we already kind of knew that was a thing anyway.
That he couldn't control his stuff.
Yeah, that was the problem. That was the problem in NPB was he had like a crazy walk rate, and it got better last year because he get moved to the pen or something like that. I think he kind of profiles.
Yeah, the past couple of years.
He probably profiles more as a reliever, not a starter.
Yeah,
I don't know why the A's are just desperate. Because did Waldichuk make the opening day roster?
Yeah, because they lost Drew Rucinski and Paul Blackburn for the first time through.
That's right. They're just decimated for talent in general, and then the talent that they have just is not good. That sucks for Fujinami. He was supposed to be one of the next big things too.
Mm-hmm. I think he could. You were right. He could be a really great closer, but I really hope that he gets a few more opportunities to show what he can do because his stuff was really good. And the fact that he was able to like throw 50 pitches and still be tossing 100 miles per hour is pretty crazy. But yeah, he got lit up. Shohei almost took him deep. We talked about Kodai Senga. That guy is sort of similar. He's got more control, but he is throwing like 100 miles per hour, but it's not getting any whiffs is the thing. And his fork ball is devastating though.
Yeah, that's honestly been like a weird thing for a lot of pitchers in general that come over is they just don't generate. It's different with Shohei because Shohei's an alien, but like a lot of the guys that come over because Kikuchi up until like this spring training, like he was supposed to be a big strikeout guy and he just was not. Like he just doesn't strike anybody out. So those guys, I don't know what it is. They just don't miss bats when they come over here. I'm sure they'll figure it out. Like Fujinami's gnarly. He throws his splitter, I think, was in like the mid 90s, like or lower, like mid 90s, like 92, 93 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like Kodai Senga still got 8 Ks.
I think
It's
he
the
threw
one.
one at 95 at one point.
That's gross, man. That's like
Yeah.
a Jawan Duran like
Yeah,
splinter splitter.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I'm excited to watch these guys throughout the season, watch them sort of grow into their own for the younger guys and for Senga and Fujinami and Yoshida to establish themselves as stars in MLB.
yeah. I always like seeing those guys come over just because it's interesting because you get a little bit of a glimpse into like how baseball works in other leagues, even if you don't keep up with them, like
Oh,
Rusinski and like with Kodai Senga and Fujinami, you get to see like, okay, these are the best of this other league. Let's see how they fare over here. That's always cool. I always really like guys like that. But if you want to, you just pulled up the picture. While I gotta try to fix my contact that has moved around. But the Braves have released their City Connect jerseys.
yes, they have. We'll run through all the other ones because I have the slides open. What is wrong with that eye? Maybe something on my computer. Yeah, so City Connects, to refresh your memory, we went through all of them last year as they released. Some great ones. Davis and I have definitely differing opinions, especially when it comes to the Marlins one. But outside of that, we sort of agree pretty heavily that the Dodgers ones are the worst. But we did get a new one, and we'll be getting, I think, a few more this year. I think over the next 2 years, we'll wrap up getting all of them. I have this jersey in Shohei, thanks to my brother. It's very cool. Yeah, so I think the last one we got last year was this Brewers one. And the first one we've got this year, oh no, the last one we got was the Padres one. The first one, oh, these are the new Twins jerseys. And the first one we got this year are the Atlanta Braves ones, which are interesting. I don't think they're bad. I think they have a cool aspect of that. They're sort of like calling back to the history of the team, but this just looks like the throwbacks that they already have that look like this one, but they just have a little "the" next to the A. I've always liked the sleeves with a little design on them because you don't normally see sleeves with designs like that. I like that for the Giants ones are like that as well. They have the you can't really see it. They have the bridge on it. I thought that was cool, but you rarely see designs like that on sleeves. So I think that's the coolest part. But outside of that, they're pretty meh. They're not bad. We've seen some bad ones like the Dodgers, and I think the Astros ones aren't great, but at least these don't look like pajamas.
Yeah, the one thing that I do really like about them is the symbolic, not the symbolicism or whatever, but the connection to Hank Aaron, because the big one of the big things that they did this for was for Hank Aaron, and that's cool. Just because like he's one of the biggest, brightest names ever for baseball, one of the game's greatest people. So that's just nice. But it's sort of uninspired otherwise because it literally is just their old throwback that's just got the next to the A, and then the sleeves are a little bit different. So yeah, I mean they're fine. Very much like a C plus to B minus.
Yeah, where would you put them in the rankings? What like better than the Brewers ones, right?
Yeah, definitely better than the Brewers ones. I hate
better than the Brewers ones. Worse than the Angels.
Definitely worse than the Angels.
Better or worse?
Better than that one. Not nearly as good as the Nationals one. I love those actually. So,
you do?
Yeah, I like them.
Why?
I like them a lot better without the ugly socks.
I hate the pants. Like we saw.
I don't like the number on the pants. If they didn't have the number on the pants, they'd be dope.
Yeah, that's part of it.
I love the hats and I love the colors. I love the piping with the gradient, but I don't like.
For me, it's just the.
Those are sweet.
For me, for the Dodgers and the Astros ones,
none of
it's
those
the
guys
way
play
that
for that team anymore.
Not a
one of them played for
not a single one. Jason Hayward hit a home run. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
The thing that I don't like about these is how the color isn't broken up. I don't know if you saw the like Cuba uniforms in the WBC.
With the
they had blue pants as well. They had blue pants, but they were broken up by the gradient of the red on the jersey. And this just is not broken up at all. It's like you're wearing a onesie.
See, you want to know what sucks about the Dodgers ones? I know you don't watch a lot of basketball, but if they wanted to connect with the city and actually have them be like the cool Hispanic heritage one, you can literally look in the back and see the graffiti font and like the lowrider font. The
Mhm.
Clippers have jerseys. The Los Angeles Clippers have jerseys that have the lowrider font on, and they are so dope. And they
Yeah.
could have had something really, really cool. And there's like, let's just do this really boring
So
shit
what do
for
you
Valenzuela.
in
It's
that
like,
same vein, what do you think the Braves could have done differently?
I don't know, honestly. I saw one that was a joke one, and they made it look like a Waffle House, and I think that would have been really funny. I think they could
Do a
have
meme
done.
one.
They could have done one that was I don't know. So a cool thing with Atlanta, and another one that I think if Los Angeles wanted to do the cool like Mexicano lowrider kind of graffiti culture, like that's dope. Atlanta is hip hop and rap like hotbed. It's one of the most like African American cultural like capitals in America. I think they could have really leaned into that and done something really, really cool. I don't know exactly what. I don't know like the landmarks there, honestly, just because I don't live in Atlanta and I'm not from Georgia. But I think they could have done something more than this. It just feels like it's too close to those old ones. I get it because it's still sort of like the Hank Aaron thing. If you look in the collar, I know it doesn't show in the collar, but it actually has like insignias and
715.
yeah, 715 for Hank Aaron, stuff like that. Um, you can't really, it's like all the details and stuff on it, they just don't have in it for like Hank Aaron. You can't see any of them. So it's
Mhm.
like, what's the point? It's like they
I
put it on the
think
inside of the collar and then they put like a little like slogan or whatever on like the bottom of the jersey where it gets tucked in. So like people that are gonna wear it like normal, like me and you know, you'd see that. But for these guys, you won't ever see it. So it's just it literally just looks like they're wearing the throwbacks.
instead of the A, they just should have had like a picture of two chains.
They should just had a picture of Hank Aaron. It should just been Hank Aaron's face.
Hank Aaron surrounded by Future and Young Thug and Lil Yachty.
That would have been dope. And Killer Mike.
Yeah,
Killer
Lil
Mike
Jon.
too.
There are a lot of rappers from Atlanta. You're right. I think they definitely could have done something better than that. That's
That
why
would
I
have been
think the
sweet.
the Padres one has continued to stand out because they did something different that you don't see from baseball uniforms.
See, so my big deal with the City Connects is the point is to connect to the city, literally breathe the life from your city into your
Hmm.
jersey. And San Diego took theirs, and it was like this stuff for the pier and the roller coaster. That's cool. That's a landmark from your city that you're taking inspiration from. The Braves, and while I love Hank Aaron, don't get me wrong, the Braves jerseys are literally a Hank Aaron Connect jersey. Like that's what it is. They're Hank Aaron
Yeah,
Connect jersey. You can look at like,
and he played in Milwaukee for half his career.
yeah, and you can look at like, you know, the Diamondbacks ones. That's cool. That leans into it. Even I liked it, but I like the Red Sox ones. You hate them, but that connects.
Remember when somebody got bombed?
Well, that connects to the Boston Marathon, which is still like it's still kind of a major thing that they do. And even though the city rallied around that and kind of turned it into a beacon of hope from a terrible situation. So
For sure.
like you're connecting with your city over something. And then this one's just like, hey, remember Hank Aaron? Like everyone's like, yeah, we do. Like he died like a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
I don't know.
R.I.P.
As Senate that one too. Like they should have just put a big Coors Light logo on the front of their jersey and just call it a day. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I would rather them actually do something to connect with the city and the surrounding area instead of just being like, here's our things for Hank Aaron. Well, I love
Hmm.
that, but still it felt like a cop out. But they still look awesome. So I still would probably lean like, you know, B minus tier, C plus tier. They're very good because the throwbacks were dope too. But it's like I want something different because
Yeah, definitely good baseball jerseys, but not different enough.
yeah, that's my issue. That's my issue with them. But we've talked about the City Connect jerseys, and then you have your little segment you want to throw in here?
Yeah, new segment. I brainstormed this over the off season, and it's still sort of in the infant stages. But Davis and I are big on memes. We like laughing about stuff on Twitter. We like laughing about baseball. I think baseball is sort of a prime place for memes, and I think it'd be a great place to have a segment every week where we just talk about a meme that we think was funny. Davis hasn't even seen this one, but the segment is called LMAOB, which is basically laugh my ass off baseball, but we got to do something for the O. So I guess it's outrageous or something. Orange, whatever you want the O to be. But yeah, so we'll just let's meme about baseball. And today's meme is one that somebody sent in my fantasy chat group, and it's we got a peek inside the new Red Sox clubhouse ahead of opening day. Very red in there, and then this is the follow-up meme. I saw that one and I thought it was funny.
Man-made horrors beyond comprehension.
Yeah, so I thought that one was pretty good. Hopefully we'll get some better ones throughout the season. We could always just one of my friends just makes memes. He been sending memes for the past couple of years, and he's just like, I was like, where are you getting these? He's like, I make them. I was like, what? All right, make me some. So maybe I'll have to commission him a couple throughout the year. But I think this could be a growing segment where we just laugh about some funny stuff in baseball. One of them was just all the players dropping fly balls this year has just been ridiculous. Starling Marte dropped one that was just so ridiculously easy, and then they didn't even give him an error.
Brandon Marsh, like, he didn't drop one, but it literally was like a single that all he had to do was trap, and he charged it for whatever reason and put his glove out halfway like this. And he just dropped his hand down, and he just missed it by a mile. It went right past him all the way to the wall. Castellanos had to field it. That's how you know you blew it. When Nicholas Castellanos has to bail you out in the field. And it ended up being like a stand-up triple for like a non-power hitter. I don't even remember who it was. Because they were playing the Yankees. I think it was Stanton. I honestly think Stanton had like a stand-up triple or something stupid like that. Known speed demon or something like that. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I liked the Seinfeld meme. That's pretty dope.
Thank you. I didn't even find it myself.
Every time I see that meme with them, I saw one, and it literally just said man-made horrors beyond my comprehension.
Yeah. Well, we would usually close out the podcast with bringing in the closer, but we had to move the podcast up to Tuesday, so I was strapped for time. It is the first day of Passover tomorrow, so any Jews out there celebrating, happy Pesach. It's a fun holiday, Davis. We do a lot of weird stuff that like you don't really think about until you realize that not many people do that. Like we hide a piece of matzah and then go look for it.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's like one of the things you do.
Well, anyway, if you're looking for a closer, the Astros,
go watch some baseball.
Watch some baseball. It's currently the bottom of the 9th inning, and the Tigers are trying to close out the Astros. So if you want to go watch that, it's 3-run lead. That doesn't really classify it.
Don't watch Kyle Finnegan, not a closer.
Yeah, don't watch
Teoscar Hernandez.
Pathetic.
Teoscar Hernandez just hit a home run, 477 feet.
I'm very unhappy because I did not start Spencer Torkelson because he's been completely miserable so far, and he has 11 points in Super which is really good. So thanks, Torque. I should have just stuck with him. He's been hitting the ball hard, and I got boned.
I'm glad to see he's getting back on track after last year.
Romano got a save. There you go. You're looking for a closer. There you go, man. Jordan Romano got a save today.
Nice.
Closed out the Royals. Did you see Aroldis Chapman? We can talk about Aroldis Chapman for bringing.
No, I don't want to talk about Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, but it's funny because he sucked, but he threw it really hard, and then he tried to run down a ground ball to first. He had to make a PFP running to first, and he tripped, stumbled, and fell over and ran over an umpire. He's our closer for the week, Aroldis Chapman. Everyone laugh at Aroldis Chapman. That's all we got for our podcast for opening day weekend on this wonderful Tuesday evening, April the 4th. Make sure you check back in with us next Wednesday, probably, or you can figure out when we're actually going to have the show by following the Athletes Hub on Twitter at Athletes Hub. And you can follow me while you're there at DVS Bird, because I'm Davis Bird. I'm the host of this podcast, along with my other, or along, I was going to say my other co-host. You're the co-host. With my co-host, Jake Crumpler, at Jake Crumpler. Jake writes for 4,000 different sites, and they're all really awesome, and you should check them out, especially the reliever ranks articles that will help you win your fantasy baseball leagues, because they're really dope, and I've been reading all of them. And you can check out all of his stuff over there and on sites like
pitcherlist.com. Yeah, that's where those reliever ranks come out. I do them about once a week.
And you should read them.
Once a week in general. I do have to fill in a lot of the time, so lots of times I'll be doing them 2 times a week. But yeah, they're basically cover every single bullpen in baseball for the previous day, and it's a lot of fun. I also will be doing gift breakdowns of pitchers making their debuts. So
that's sweet.
Tomorrow, hopefully, I'll have my first gift breakdown of Dylan Dodd's debut, which was successful. So if I can figure out how to make some gifts with a Giphy Cat being down. Did you hear that they sold Giphy Cat?
Who they sell Giphy Cat to?
I don't know, but whoever bought it fired everybody and expected it to continue to work Elon Musk style. And it did not continue to work. So we're trying to figure that out. So hopefully I don't have to work remote tomorrow to try to make gifts all day. But yeah, that should be coming out tomorrow. It's we've done a couple. If you want to go check out Jared Schuster or Shintaro Fujinami's debut, basically just run through and like show like 15 to 20 of the pitches, like just break down their whole start and sort of say what we think about them going forward. Those are a lot of fun. And then I also do 2 other podcasts, if you can believe it. I do one that sort of goes hand in hand with those reliever ranks called In the Pen, where every week every week I, Rick Graham, and Callan Elslager talk about relief pitchers, and that's literally all we talk about. So if you need help in your fantasy league or you just really love bullpens, that's the place to go listen to that. That's on all podcast platforms. And then I also do the weekend editions of the daily Pitcher List podcast called the First Pitch Podcast. That one's a lot of fun. It takes a lot of time to do it and edit it and everything, but I think it's a really good product, and that thing is super helpful for fantasy baseball. Or if you just like don't care about fantasy baseball, I still think it's great, because if you miss anything from the day before, we cover all the biggest performances, all the transactions and stuff. So if you just want to like hear what's going on in baseball, that's the way to do it. It's like a 15 to 20 minute podcast. You listen to me on 1.5 times speed. It's a 10-minute podcast. So yeah, those are a lot of fun. But yeah, I also write for Baseball HQ. If you can believe it, I do even more stuff. And hopefully I will be putting out an article for the Athletes Hub soon. I'm thinking about doing like, you know how last year I did like top fantasy baseball performers? I think this year I just want to do like weekly baseball awards, like weekly MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope. I think that idea would be really cool. Another cool one would be like a little, I don't know, like not like a top performers, maybe like a little checklist or some tips and tricks for doing fantasy baseball. That'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, you can check out any of those ideas that we potentially put on those website at the Athletes Hub, which you can go to at theathleteshub.org, where you can check out stuff that Jake's written and that I've written and that all of the other plethora of writers that we have there have written it. And it's not just about baseball. It's obviously about every other sport. We got WWE, wrestling, like we got baseball, obviously we got soccer, football when it happens, basketball, all sorts of stuff. And it's more from a fan point of view, although we all are trying to sort of have some journalistic integrity and not just write about our opinions and everything, but it's still like we're smaller guys. We're not the big news outlets. So you're going to be reading something that fellow fans have to say. Yeah. You're going to be reading stuff that fellow fans have to say, like yourself. So that's why I think that we make really good content, and it's really enjoyable to read and consume, just like this podcast is enjoyable to consume, that you don't watch on 1.5 times speed, because I already talk fast. I already talk way too fast to be doing that. So check back in with us next week. Follow all of our socials. That's all we have this week. And enjoy some baseball.
Yes, sir.